Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Well, that absolutely sucked, didn't it? But think about this for a second. The apologies with the voice. I got a scratchy throat, a sore throat coming on. It's been a pain in the butt. The Fever had a winning record. They won three folks, elimination games, win or go home in the WNBA playoffs this year. They did it without their stars, not just Caitlin Clark, as we'll get into in a minute. They forced overtime against the anointed Las Vegas Aces and Asia Whistle in the final game, the game again of the semifinals that would have sent them to the championship round. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all your support, of course. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As always, shout out to the 19. So let's talk about this season, okay? Let's wrap this season up a little bit with the Indiana Fever stuff, and I'm sure I'll also have some other thoughts going forward and other news. We got this off season is going to be crazy with the CBA, but anyway, not only did they do all those things that I just mentioned and force Game 5 against Asia, I'm really actually overrated Wilson. But again, I said stars. There was no Caitlin, no Sophie, no Chloe, Ari, Damiris, Sid. Oh, and at the very end, when it had to be decided, there was no Aaliyah and there was no Kelsey either. And yet, overtime, game 5, to get to the finals. And let's face it, AB was out because the officials made sure to get her out of there because that foul number 6 call in that situation at that time of the game, absolute BS. I'm betting the league and the officials were like, "Oh, we'll call this here, and there's not going to be an overtime." They thought they were securing things for the Las Vegas Aces, making sure that nothing crazy happened at the end of the game to allow the Fever to pull out. Caitlin Clark only played 13 of 44 games, and yeah, they were 8-5 with her, 16-15 without, but 24-20 overall. 6 seed out of 8 teams. Great comeback series against the Dream. Had to come back again against the Aces. I mean, this is absolutely wild. In a year of multiple season-ending injuries, of hardship players, and constant roster adjustments, the Indiana Fever had a kind of season that nobody expected and everyone will remember. Unfortunately, it didn't have the ultimate storybook ending, but man, the run that they went on all the way to a decisive game 5 in the WNBA semifinals against the Las Vegas Aces, that's pretty wild. Sadly, as I just mentioned, all came to that a very sudden end. I mean, come on, don't tell me you weren't starting to believe, right? And it did it against a fully healthy, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but pretty much a fully healthy Asia Wilson-led Aces team that had Jewel Lloyd and had Chelsea Gray and had Jackie Young who went off. Okay, I don't have anything bad to say about Jackie Young. She was a huge part of that win. And of course, the Aces was the team the league wanted to see in the finals, no doubt. Like I said, come on, admit it to me. You can let me know in the comments. You were starting to believe that this team is destined for something. This team is destined for a title. It was absolutely giving that vibe that we as sports fans all love, but we so rarely get, especially at the highest levels of the game, the professional level, is that Cinderella team that not only no one expected to contend, but that everyone can like in terms of the roster and how they play together and just that whole likability vibe. But not only did they got it, how do I put this? It was, a Cinderella team that no one expects to contend, but they get hot at the right time, right? That was the Fever after the injuries. No one expected them after the injuries to be doing anything. Or of course there were, yeah, I mean that's pretty much I almost lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying. That team that like just no one expects them to go anywhere. Or maybe they did initially, and then like the Fever, they get all these injuries, and you're like, oh well, that's that. But the rest of the team bands together, and magical things happen. Steph White said, I think they have been an absolute joy to coach. It's an incredible group of women, an incredibly connected group. They're a great example to everybody of what it means to just put one foot in front of the other, to persevere, to welcome people into the fold, to not give in to circumstance, to lead with grace and dignity. You hear that, Dewana Bonner? Just saying. Do you hear that? Seems like the locker room, I don't know, it seemed pretty damn good. So, and the fans were pretty damn good to you as well. So your story's falling apart. But anyway, now we got to play some what ifs, right? And I'm not even going to go into what if with Caitlin. She only played 13 games, but at this moment, what if Kelsey Mitchell didn't cramp up so badly? I mean, after all, at that point in the game, and I believe only 23 minutes, Kelsey Mitchell was 4 of 8. She was 3 of 3 from three. She was 4 of 5 from the line. She had 15 points on only 8 shots. Not to mention, of course, she has that game, right? Where she's that type of player that can get you a bucket when it all breaks down, that type of player that can always get a shot off. And yeah, I know sometimes it gets you in a little bit of trouble because you have that confidence and ability. You know, your Allen Iversons, your Kobe Bryants. I mean, these are players, let's face it, would take some bad shots at time, but there was a reason for that. And Kelsey was that player. And so not only did you lose a player like that who can play extremely well, but it impacts what the other team, the Aces, can do in terms of guarding other players without Mitchell on the court, right? They can change how they D up. They can be tougher on other options, like say Odyssey Sims, who balled out last night. Without Mitchell in there, they can give Odyssey a little more attention, or maybe if she's having a night, it's a Leah Boston or Lexi Hull, and they can give someone else a little more attention when Kelsey Mitchell is not on the court. Here's another what if for you in the game. What about that terrible, terrible call against the Leah Boston to foul her out? I mean, I'm telling you, like I think I mentioned it a minute or two ago. I bet the league thought they were securing an Aces win at that point in regulation with that call on Aaliyah Boston. Unfortunately, they were ultimately right as things clearly broke down in overtime. It just got to that point where, the Fever could only overcome so much. All the injuries, all the bad calls, it caught up to them, It just got to that point where it finally caught up to them and they couldn't overcome anymore, caught up to the Fever, but it did it, man. What's so frustrating and so heartbreaking for the team is that after all of that, it finally caught up to them 5 minutes away from a championship finals berth that no one but us, right, thought was possible. I mean, the Fever just said, nah, over and over again to bad luck. Time and time again. They said, nah, you know what? Okay, that player's down. Next player up. We're just going to continue to roll. And unfortunately, they couldn't do it one more time when they were inches away at a shot at a title. It just remained out of their grasp. I mean, the injuries, we can roll through them because it's crazy. We of course have Caitlin Clark, right? I think it was what, five? Some having 5 season-ending injuries between or through July and August. Caitlin Clark in July, of course, and I think Sydney Colson and Ari MacDonald, if I remember correctly, early August, same game. Sid with the ACL, Ari with the broken foot. Sophie Cunningham was like what, a week and a half later with her injury, and I think Chloe Bibby, which was her knee, and they're still a mysterious one. I'm not saying anything nefarious. I'm just thinking, we don't get a lot of info, and the whole thing with Chloe Bibby got weird. But that one, I believe, was actually less than a week. Excuse me, less than a week after Sophie Cunningham. And then again, another mysterious one, Damiris Dantas, the concussion on September 11th, and she never came back she wasn't involved in the playoff run at all. And of course, with all those injuries, we then had the WNBA stuff with these hardship contracts, which was absolutely wild. I mean, I think they had four players on hardship contracts? I think, because I think there was one or two that was technically not a hardship contract, but they were all came to the team. I don't think we brought someone on a hardship contract until August, Okay, so and just kept throwing out new players out there, just throwing out into the fire, you know. Well, look, some of them were even injured that I met, right? Ari MacDonald, she was one of them. Chloe Bibby, she was one of them. Then, of course, we had Odyssey Sims, we had Aerial Powers. Um, I feel like there was another one that was a hardship contract as well that I can't think of who it is, but these were players that just had to come in as you get later in the season, of course, and the games start piling up, and there's really not a whole lot of practice time. They just had to come in and figure it out. They had to come in and figure it out. Um, as Odyssey Sims said, I'm super proud just to be a part of this group. We came a long way. She joined the team in, I want to say around August 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that, on a hardship contract, right? We beat the odds. We weren't even supposed to be here. And for us to be here, we finished out strong. It wasn't the outcome we wanted. Yeah. And look, who can forget Odyssey Sims when she first got here, admitting to being nervous because the Indiana Fever have so many fans, right? Like that's wild. It was a very human moment. I think that brought fans on board for her immediately. And those fans, they showed up and they showed out for Odyssey Sims, and they did the same thing for the Fever, no matter who was playing, no matter who went down and who stepped in. And look, this team was unrecognizable from that one at the beginning of the season. You remember the one that when all the Caitlin Clark haters were calling it a super team just in case they actually did make a run to the title? And man, Lexi Hull, do I really have to say anything about Lexi Hull at this point? I did an entire video on her not that long ago. She was the rock. She was the glue. She was everything else and every word you can use and phrase you can use to this team that they needed in order to keep getting up and keep moving forward. Like Rocky Balboa said, and it's one of my favorite lines. Uh, life isn't life is about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward, right? It's not about how hard you, it's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. And the Fever got hit and they got hit and they got hit and they got hit and they kept moving forward. And Lexi Hall is a great example of it. It's black eyes, back injuries, getting slammed to the ground as often as she took threes, a lot of them not being called. And she just kept coming back, kept, right? You get knocked down 7 times. That just hit me. That quote's kind of weird, right? Because they always use a number one more than you got knocked down, but really you get up as many times as you got knocked down, and you end up. But anyway, you know where I'm going with that. Whatever the team needed, Lexi Holt gave. No complaints, no drama, just hard work, just effort, just drive, just tenacity, perseverance, resilience, whatever word you want to use. And then Kelsey Mitchell she was insane this last part of the season. She absolutely emptied her tank, almost literally in game 5, became so dehydrated that was it. That cramp, she had to lay down. She was clearly in pain. She had to go to the hospital. They had to rehydrate her. And look, any athlete who's listening to this, if you've suffered a cramp, you know how debilitating it can be. And to a lot of people who have it, they might see that video of Kelsey and be like, it's just kind of weird. It didn't look like anything happened. And then she just kind of locked up. I said, well, yeah, that's exactly what happens when you get a cramp and you get something like that in your quad or hamstring or your calf. It is not pleasant, and you basically have no control anymore, and you simply can't function, and that's why she just kinda had to stop and go down because that was it, and I did feel bad for Kelsey Mitchell. I feel bad for all of them, but after all those bad seasons, all those losing seasons, and, I don't mean, like, close to 500, almost make the playoff seasons. I mean bad seasons, all those ups I shouldn't say ups and downs. Basically, it was all those downs, the drama, the obstacles. I mean, she has made it clear, very clear this season, she was the best shooting guard in the WNBA. She finished fifth in MVP voting, and only to have it end the way it did, inches really from a shot at a title, and she couldn't even be on the court to affect the outcome. That sucks. That sucks. And she was as a player, and then in the Fever as a team, they fought through all of this. We had the continued hate, Caitlin Clark hate from the previous year that just rolled right into the new season. We had player family members who needed to grow up and shut up and look in the mirror. We had the fake hate investigation at the beginning of the season with the likes of Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas lying about and smearing the Fever fan base. We had the Dewana Bonner malignant narcissism and her backstabbing and all that drama and where she had Fever fans actually praying for her, and it turned out she was just throwing a hissy fit because Lexi Hull's better than she is. And of course, as we've gone through in this whole video, all of the injuries. And look, it started out again, going back to the Caitlin Clark stuff, the continued targeting of Caitlin Clark until she was undone by injury. And yet the fever kept going. I mean, I think May was when Clark had her first injury, right? Yeah, it was in May in the preseason, and then we had June, and then in July, and the one that ultimately put her on the shelf for the entire season. And of course, all those players that we mentioned that followed suit and joined Caitlin Clark as a spectator, cheerleader, fan, and motivator on the bench. We of course had the bench mob baddies. There's a new shirt with that, by the way. See how I threw that in there? Check in the below the video. Lexi Hall said it's just so unlucky that that had to happen tonight. Just for us to be able to continue to bounce back and still fight, close out a game against the Aces, for us to be able to put out the performance we did tonight and send it to overtime, that's something to be proud of. It is. It is. I mean, there was no quit in this team. No one thought the season was going to go like this, first of all. The Indiana Fever got a bad beat from the flop to the turn to the river, but they just kept bluffing their way to the next pot and the next one and the next one after that. And man, they were 5 minutes away from the final pot, but they could not overcome one more bad beat. Their bluff got called. They were out of cards, and that was it. Put a pin in it, right? And look, any of you who've played, you know this, or played long enough. It may not happen when you're 8 or 9, but let's say you get up to like high school age or something. Adversity can pull a team together or it can tear a team apart. And the Fever clearly pulled together 100%. They grabbed that us against the world mentality, us against the anything that happens to us mentality, and they just charged forward once more into the breach time and time again. Those injuries, bouts of bad luck, all of it brought the Fever closer together. All of it allowed them to play as this single unit. It gave the team something to fight for. It gave them something to band together and fight against. And here's the part that's going to upset some people I know at this point, but this team is going to be a far different team next season with a new CBA, if there even is a next season, right? That CBA stuff's ramping up for sure, but it's definitely going to be a far different team. Look, it's going to be far different even without that aspect of simply because when you add the injured players with the active ones, well, I mean, with all these injuries, there are far too many to keep them all anyway, even if the Fever wanted to. Finally finish out with another Stephanie White quote. I've experienced some special teams in this league, in this organization, but collectively, this group has been at the top. I'm extremely grateful for every single one of them. We know this is going to be an off season full of change in the league, but what these women accomplished together, I mean, it's a special story. And there you have Stephanie White right there, kind of alluding to it, the thing that we all know, and the fans. I know a lot of fans grew to love this team and love what they saw and the way they banded together, but these are one of those seasons, and unfortunately, it didn't have the fairy tale ending, but it's still going to be remembered. It's just one of those rare seasons where it's just memorable. Everything comes together in a special way, and it's just one of those teams, one of those seasons that you never forget. But let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. As always, appreciate you checking out the video. Do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I went and checked. I don't usually check it all this stuff, but it was something like 1,200 subs in July, and I think like less than 100 new ones in September. Oh, Caitlin Clark. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sue Caitlin Clark. She's put a hurting on me. But anyway, go have the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.